So there's a lot of cool stuff with Discord. Look, so we can run a poll. Um, what do you want to know about insurance? Investor. Okay, so let's start with maybe just give everybody a rundown of who you are, what you do. I barely know you.
Yeah, yeah, we just met. I heard about a lot about you, and yeah, it feels like I've known you for quite some time. It's kind of funny how that happens, but yeah. So everyone, nice to meet everyone. My name's Sam Castillo, and so I've been. I'm a little bit about myself. My family's from El Salvador, and we moved over here. Well, I was born over here, but we moved over in the '80s when we had the Civil War going on in El Salvador. And I was actually born in Montreal and raised in Hamilton, Ontario. So I've lived here all my life, and just recently been moving. Sorry, not moving, but visiting back home in El Salvador, and looking forward to going back there again in April or May. So I work at the Cooperators. I own my insurance agency. So I've been working in insurance and finance for 14 years now. Right when I got out of college, got a job, and haven't looked back. And really happy to be at the Cooperators. So pretty much what I've been focusing on the last probably 7 or 8 years is investing and helping clients that have real estate property. So multifamily, commercial properties is basically what I do on a day to day now. So anybody that has apartment buildings, that type of thing, investment properties, that's kind of my go to, and a lot of my clients are kind of within that circle of the real estate world. So yeah, it's been a fun ride, and yeah, looking forward to giving some good information, bringing some value to the group, and yeah, Taco, anything that you have any questions about? Love to go through that with you.
Um, yeah, so I guess we like to talk. So this is our on Grow. We like to talk about all of the pieces, right? Like Manny mentions it a lot when we get into these kind of conversations and topics. It's really about the team, right? The team, and it's not just Taco, and it's not just Henry and Maine. Like it's if you're part of a community and you're only listening to one guy, you're only getting one set of resources, and one person can't know everything, right? And I'm a avid believer in that. I'm always learning from everybody, even reno guys and stuff like that as well. Um, there's always room to be learning, and shit, I'm not on brand. I'm not on brand. Slack in here. Slack in here.
Where's
Okay,
my
there.
hat, Taco?
Bro, I think what I want to do for like the multifamily conference, like one of the days, I think I'm just gonna give out a shit ton of these hats, and it'll be fucking hilarious if we could get like tons of tacos running around for like an event, right? For an hour, it'll be like we'll sync it. Everybody wear the hat at a certain point in time. There's gonna be tacos everywhere. That would be epic.
I love it. I love it.
Um,
Amazing branding.
yeah, so I definitely believe in the fact that you should learn from everybody, right? Like, you
Yeah.
come from a different background, you got a different set of experiences, even just like within the insurance industry, right? Like you obviously don't know everything, no different than I don't know everything in my industry. There's so much to learn, and this top-down kind of like business model that is a dying breed from corporate worlds to
Yeah.
now even these kind of communities and these coaching programs and everything like that. Everything needs to be like you can learn from everybody, right? Like I'm learning from my kids. I'm sure, you learn stuff from your kids. Like everybody learns from everybody. So I'm a big believer in that. And this is why I created this community to kind of learn from each other. And it doesn't matter what level or who you are, there's something that is valuable that we could all share. And that's my goal, is to share with everybody and have guys like you have your own day here and do at like whatever time on your own time and kind of post content about, you know, this kind of topic, which today is insurance. Um,
Yeah.
and that's a big, 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 big topic that lots of people can learn from,
Yeah.
right? So what
Absolutely.
type of insurance, I guess? let's start with that, do you primarily deal with?
Yeah, so I primarily deal with multifamily. Multiple units, four plexes all the way up to today I was working on a hundred unit builder's risk. So we do anything from already built up, rented out up buildings to you're going to build apartment building and you need builder's risk insurance. So it's very wide range of clients that I have, but mostly focusing on property, multifamily, and commercial as well.
Okay, that's awesome. So you said a few things. There's a couple of like key things. So you're doing building insurance, right? Just like
Yeah,
on the building itself and like having it a fully tenanted building. And then we also touched
yeah,
on like builder's risk insurance, which is when I am building or doing heavy renos in an apartment building that could be vacant or just could be a piece of land, right? So let's
yeah.
touch on the differences of those, and then we'll get into maybe some questions or some of the importance of each of those topics.
Yeah, so like so 100% nail on the head. Like you got your building. Let's say that it's already renovated. You already have tenants inside of the building. So that's pretty much straightforward insurance where it comes to okay, well, I have a building. We have a list of items that we need. So that's number one is you're already tenanted, already renovated building, and then we go from you have a building that you just purchased, you're looking to do the renovation, and you need builder's risk insurance depending on the amount of renovations that you're going to be going through and putting into an investment that you're putting into the building. So it's really important to have that insurance because if you don't tell your insurance company about it, and then all of a sudden something goes wrong, and then they find out that it's vacant and under construction, there's a good chance that they're going to decline the claim, right? So I deal with clients that are doing those renovations, and all the way to yeah, you have a plot of land, you purchased a plot of land, and you're looking to build some units, right? So it can go anywhere from six plexes, eight plexes, all the way to 100 plus units. Um, so so obviously it gets a little bit more complex the bigger that we go. And we need more information like our architectural designs, geological tests, that type of thing. But yeah, so it's a very wide range. But yeah, so any of those types of projects we're definitely insuring, and we're helping those clients out. I know it's crazy right now. A lot of people are experiencing a lot of increase in their premiums. So if you haven't already, you're probably going to start seeing that with your insurance providers that they're looking at, increasing rates, right? So things are costing more, lot
Yay!
more.
More good news.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good news,
I don't know
right?
why I
I
brought him
mean,
on the show, everybody. I'm so sorry.
it is what it is, really, right? At the end of the day, but the more prepared you are to understand those risks,
100%.
the better you'll be able to understand your, for one, your what you're going up against. Risk factors like how long is it going to take to get insurance if you bought a property already, and return on investment is a huge item that you want to look at, right? Sometimes it is hard to get insurance in some areas, right? So having those conversations with your insurance provider, insurance broker, agent, whoever you're dealing with, to make they give you some advice, right, before you make a move on a property.
And you know what? Like on that note, like I honestly believe that people don't reach out to their insurance brokers as often as they should. Like,
Yeah.
for example, we have the sister company which manufactures kitchens and stuff like that. So I have an insurance guy for that. And that guy comes every year. Comes every year to my shop or to our shop, and he checks everything out, looks at the machinery. He's like, how much more volume are you doing? What's the capacity looking like? What has changed in the business to make sure that increasing or decreasing in whatever it is that you're doing, because people don't realize how many little categories there are when you do create an insurance. Everyone's like, oh, car insurance. It's just car insurance. Like car insurance is like accidental, like collision. Like there's lots of stuff and different items that you cover, and the range depends on a lot of variables, right? Like, age of the building, I'm sure. Like, what are some of those things that would affect from insuring a property, just like even just like a 10-plex, let's say, that's renovated, it's fully going. What are some of these questions that we should be asking our brokers, or categories that we should be aware of when even like purchasing these size buildings?
Yeah, well, I mean, like one of the main things that I always talk to my clients about is areas that are higher risk for flooding or sewer backups, right? So we're seeing a lot of the mortgage companies, they kind of give you a list of items for insurance, right?
Hmm.
So that might entail, flooding, sewer backup, earthquake, minimum liability, minimum deductibles, all these types of things. So certain areas and certain companies aren't going to provide sewer backup and water coverage. So today I did a quote on a sixplex, um, and they're right on the water, right? So that water coverage is extremely expensive, right? So if that mortgage company wants it at this point, it's more for commercial that they want you to have water coverage and sewer backup as part of the mortgage clause for closing. But we're probably going to start seeing that with residential programs as well, right? So that's definitely something that we want to make sure that it's available to us, because certain companies are limiting the water and sewer backups in certain areas as well. So that's a big one that I always think about.
What about stuff to mitigate? Like, okay, so there's just some of this. Actually, I got some questions for you. When it
Yeah,
comes to
yeah,
like, so I know in a lot of the buildings, even in basement, like duplex conversions and stuff like that, I've been recommending for my clients to get like smart water valves, right? That auto shut
yeah,
off the water, detect like, slow leaks, like, even large leaks, and it'll turn off the water like instantly. You put these little sensor pads kind of like in wet areas, and as soon as there is like a cap full of water, the main valve will shut off. Like it'll shut off, it'll
yeah, yeah,
text you, it'll email whoever you want, and now you're calling your tenant and being like, "Hey, there's a leak detected in the dishwasher.
yeah,
Did you spill a mop bucket, or is there a problem, right?" And then you're
yeah.
proactively, and I've heard that it does help in the insurance side of things, especially when you start getting into the high rise and mid rise buildings, putting in these shut offs like every certain amount of floors and stuff like that. Like, how does that affect investors from that standpoint? Like,
Yeah, I mean, we love clients that take care of their buildings, right? So, one of the great things about dealing with investors is that they look at a property and they want to get the most value out of the property. So usually they're making their updates. They're taking out the cast iron, they're putting PVS or updated copper. They're doing again, yeah, the monitoring there with the water. They're putting in sump pumps, backup valves in their property to make sure that they don't run into an issue. There's nothing better than an investor for me that takes care of their properties, right? So for me, I like, many clients. I have to take on great clients, right? So I'm always looking for clients that are upgrading, are updating, and taking care of their clients, their tenants. Um, so that's another thing for sure, is that if you're if you got it monitored, right? So not only are you making sure that you have a sump pump, that you have a backup valve, but you're also you could get like water protection monitor system as well, right? So if something happens, you get an alert, and you can reduce the amount of claim or amount of damage that happens, right? So we always love that, and you do get a break on your insurance as well when you do have those things in place, so that if you minimize the risk, you also share in the reduction in premium.
oh, that's awesome. And then
Yeah,
so what's
yeah, absolutely.
What other things, I guess, similar to that are out there that maybe we don't know? I mean, appreciate that we're like children, like we're like you in tech
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
insurance, right? It's not a
Yeah. I
topic.
don't know.
Just I'm just razzing. Just like
No.
renos, a lot of people aren't versed. Everybody just talks about renos like it's like, it's renos, easy. Insurance, just call your broker. It's easy, it's simple, right? Like there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
So it's really cool,
Yeah.
like meeting you and I was talking to you and you're like, oh, I do insurance, and I was telling you, I was like, buddy, this is I like to bring on people that we're not talking like topics that everybody brings on the coach. Everybody has the same guy that runs the same spreadsheet and talks about the market, and it's like that's the simple shit. That's like the piece you can't fuck up. Like you run your numbers and they're like, buy. Reno price is Reno plus or minus 30%. Insurance premium, we'll just throw in 5 grand for
Yeah.
keepsake. Closing costs, yeah, just put in this, like they just put in these bubbles, and then they're like, if it's green, buy it, and if it's red, don't buy it, and then
Don't
that's
buy
it.
it.
And then when
Yeah.
people start actually running their numbers, and then you and I are having these conversations, you're like, Mark, man, it's cast iron pipe. There's like you're in a high risk water area, and I'm like, what the, like I didn't know this stuff
Yeah.
because it doesn't get
No, no. I
doesn't
mean,
get covered.
how
Because
would you really? And before, like, there's some mistakes that a lot of investors make is that they take their whoever they're buying off, the person that they're buying the property off of, they're taking their insurance numbers and plugging it right into their numbers, right? So it's really important to not get burned that way, right? Like, just because they pay $3,000 for and they've owned the property for 30 years, it's probably because that policy hasn't been reviewed. Taco, like your insurance guy that comes out and does your review every year, not everybody has that communication, right? Like, I mean, they might have the worst coverage ever, or not, or half the coverage, and then they run into something called co-insurance if they ever had a loss, right? So, um, it's important that you're definitely, as an investor, you're getting you're having a communication with somebody that can give you good advice and say, listen, this is going to be around this price, right? So you get, because really at this point right now, if you're doing a big project, it really, for me, it's really important to have some, at least as close to hard numbers as possible, especially if you're going to be bringing investors on, right? You need to know that piece of the pie, because if you don't, that return on investment might fall short. The project might not even happen. It might take longer than expected. You don't want to start opening up, a can of worms when you're looking at the insurance in certain buildings. It really is important to have that communication more than ever. Really, it's I can't tell you enough. Some companies are pulling out of some markets, and there's a lot going on. So having that communication with your insurance, professional, is super important. So for me, I love my clients. I'm always on top of it. I mean, I think I have a little bit of an advantage because I do investing myself.
you mean
So
because
I get,
you're Latino, right?
yeah, I'm Latino, man. We
That's
got
the
to make it
advantage.
happen,
That's
right?
the advantage.
We got to take care of people back home.
No, but to your point though, that is important, right? Like having people that do the same things you do and then also work in the industry, right? Like I invest in real estate, but I'm also a contractor. So I get both
Right.
sides of the coin.
Yeah.
You're an investor and you're also in insurance. So you understand both sides of the coins. You understand what the investor side of it is and what your industry
Yeah.
side of it is. And that is
Yeah.
super important to kind of like cover and talk to. And yet like that insurance guy that I mentioned, I met him like 6 years ago, and I was renewing my business insurance for my rental company, and he was the first guy ever in history to be like, so what sort of work are you doing? Like, are you doing structural? Are you doing plumbing? Are you doing electrical? Like, how much volume are you doing in each category? Do you store your own tools? Do you have it? Like that guy, he just started asking me all these questions, and I was like, what? Like, like,
Yeah.
nobody's ever asked me any questions before. And he was like, you should. He's like, because he's like the
Yeah.
guy that's giving you this, because I had I met him. I ran into him like kind of like at an event, like you and I met, and then I was
Yeah.
shopping, and he kind of like I ran into him in the right time, and I asked him, and I was like, "Hey, man, um, I'm thinking about getting insurance. Like, could I show you this policy?" Like, I was asking him to like review the guy that I was pretty much already. I was gonna say yes. Like, I was ready to say yes,
Yeah.
and then he was
Yes.
like, he started asking me all of these questions, and like kind of actually caring about who I was and what I act, how much I did, and did I subcontract the work or was it all my employees and all of that stuff. He was like, all this stuff matters, and it sort of really opened my eyes into the insurance side of it, right? And like having a guy
Yeah.
like you said, like you care about your clients and you're like actually taking care. There's a lot of guys that don't give a shit. There's a lot of like
Yeah.
they're just like, yeah, blanket policy, buddy, as long as I'm getting my fees, I'm good. My parents have this, you know, bless her soul. She's like an insurance person. She has their home and their car. Probably never talks to my parents. Never looks at what they're doing or anything because she
Yeah.
doesn't care. They're just free money to them, right?
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's definitely. I mean, for me, you want to like. There's a couple of things, right? Like you always run into those like those issues where you've heard, oh, I shouldn't have, being honest kind of backfires, right, with your insurance guy, and you're almost like want to avoid them just to make sure. I mean, I grew up in a Spanish Latino household, right? Whenever not everyone knocked on the door of the city or whatever, like don't let them in so they don't know that your basement's finished, or you know what I mean? Like it's always
Yeah.
been like that. But I think like for me, I'm not calling my clients, like when I call my clients, I'm not looking to get like something from them or increase their premium. I'm just trying to understand so I protect them from themselves, right? Because the worst thing that you want to do is not know, and you haven't been able to give them some advice, and something happens, right? Like that's the biggest thing for me is, and a lot of times we're saving premium too, right? Like during the pandemic, we were always doing client reviews just to make sure that if their receipts and sales went down, that their premium went down too. So like I mean, it goes both ways, and I think for me, it's about education, for the client, and for sure is caring about your clients. In every industry, you have people that just don't care, right? Like you're gonna have professionals that just don't care. You're gonna have realtors that don't care, plumbers that don't care, electricians. I mean, you gotta make sure that you're at least you know getting out there, like interview some insurance professionals, right? Like make sure that you feel comfortable that they have the expertise in the business that you're running to give you the advice, to be there for you. For me, if I didn't know buildings, if I didn't own a building, if I didn't own real estate, it's hard for me to kind of know what to ask, or kind of what kind of things are out there that may hurt us, like risks that are out there.
Mhm.
Um, and also I don't have to ask you a billion questions about stuff that I already know about,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the big thing too, is like for me, I ask the right questions, and I'm able to go out to a property and break down the property pretty quickly for my insurance quote. And there's nothing more annoying than getting asked a million questions in 1,000 different ways, and then next thing you know, you're just like you're exhausted, right? So
No, yeah,
it's
no.
one of those. Yeah,
No, and then I agree with you, like the whole Latino household. Cindy also agrees with you about the Latino homes. We're always like very protective, but from the insurance side of things, you're just like I like again having this first like that first good insurance broker that I ever met, and
yeah,
he's not picking you're not there to like arrest people, right? You guys aren't the cops. You guys are there to be like, hey, look, if you're doing this, it's fine. I don't have to cover you, but if you want the coverage, this is the option. Because
exactly.
the day something happens and you're like, oh, well, you didn't tell me about, right? Because then the Latinos are like, oh, I didn't see that in my insurance. Are you sure? Right?
Yeah, no, man, and that's for sure. Like, and that's a huge point. I think, like for me, I take on advisors, and I have a team, building a team, and I always sit down with them and I say, listen, like at least give them the choice, right? Give them a good recommendation based on you don't have to. You're not selling anything. All you're doing is matching their needs,
Yeah.
and then saying, hey, listen, these are the things that you should probably consider, and like for income properties. something that you should consider is income replacement, right? If something happens, there's a fire and there's no income coming in because you don't have rent, because there's a situation going on, there's a possibly a renovation going on, who's going to pay your mortgage, right? So if you don't have the proper coverage on your insurance, no one's paying your mortgage and you don't have tenants, what happens then? Right. So for me is yeah, it may be an extra 300-400 bucks or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But if my clients, if I said, oh, he doesn't need that, he wants the cheapest insurance, this and that, without giving him the offer, and then something happens, he goes, Sam, like what kind of a guy doesn't give me a chance to? Oh, well, I thought, well, don't assume, right? Always give the clients, at least a chance to review their coverages, to understand their coverages, and make a decision based on the information at hand, right? So there's so many things, and insurance to me is exciting because it's funny because you never even think it's exciting or you don't think it's important
It's not
until
exciting, man.
something goes
It's not
wrong.
exciting. It's not exciting. Somebody tell this guy it's
It
not
is. It
exciting.
is. Trust me. I mean, that's why I love my
Okay,
job. Like, I mean,
okay,
I
we're
feel,
listening.
I feel,
Excite us,
I deal with
excite us.
characters like you, Taco. So and the cool thing is that you're not facing the same thing every day. There's always clients, and there's no same property too, right? You're gonna find some unique properties that have unique needs, and and for me, it's really exciting because like the bigger we get, the more unique people are, and I think I found in the last little bit is that um, you know the investors are starting to get more resourceful, right? Like in the last 5 years, everyone has made money, right?
Yeah.
Or last 6 years. If you didn't make money in the last 6 years and you own real estate, I'm not sure what you were doing,
You're on
right?
a different planet. You're on a different planet.
Yeah, yeah, you're in a different planet. And then now I feel like, the creativeness of the investors are, you're seeing churches being built to Airbnbs. You're seeing schools being bought out to build apartment little complexes. Like it's getting so amazing with the creativeness of the investors. People are just like you, that some properties are going to have unique needs, right? So for me, it is exciting, and it's exciting on so many fronts, maybe because I invest myself. So once I see a project come up, I start to get fired up too, and we motivate each other, push each other forward, and I think that's kind of why I've loved this career that I've chosen. And just like how you love yours, right? So our passion kind of flows through, and you can tell that we love what we do, right?
Yeah, it's fun. Like you're right. I mean, I'm sure you're excited about insurance, but I get excited about renos, right? Like it's fun. It's fun going to like today we were out with Henry. It was fun to go and check out a building and see like, okay, what reno can I do? Or like, am I gonna find something new? Or is there gonna be an issue? But like, I've seen a lot of the buildings, but it's even cooler to be able to be like, I know exactly what you need. You need this,
Yeah,
right? And the investor
yeah,
that we're working with, he's just moving into these bigger buildings, right? And I met him
mm,
at a previous job. He was trying to buy that building, and then there was like environmental didn't work out, and there's a bunch of stuff that didn't work out. But he was so blown away with like my thought process and I was like, well, what's your exit strategy? He's like, what do you mean, what's my exit strategy? I'm like, well, if you want me to renovate this thing, how are you getting out of this thing? Are you going to MLI Select? Are you just going to go traditional financing? Are you trying to hold this? Like, what is your exit strategy? And then he was like, no contractors ever asked me that before, right? Because
yeah,
contractors don't give
yeah,
a shit. Contractors are like, how much can I charge you? Right? Where I look at
yeah,
these guys and I'm like, how can I help you achieve your goals? Kind of like you're saying, like protect you as an investor from insurance or from a catastrophic reno so that you can buy another building and call us again. Right? That's like I feel like there's a lot of there's I find there's like two ways to sell. You could be like that hardcore sales guy that's just I will say whatever I need to say to get the sale, or I will just provide you with all of the options and give you like true value and advice, and you're gonna give me the sale because you know I'm telling you this is how it is. You pick your poison, but this
Yeah.
is what it is, right? Like I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
I'm not here to sell you,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
and that's I think that's what brings joy into our lives. Like, if you felt like like back in the day, like I think if like a realtor or a sales guy, you kind of felt like slimy or sold when you bought something off them. You know what I
100%.
mean?
Yeah.
And when I got into my industry, I was like, I don't want to be that guy that that's doing something that the client doesn't need, and then I feel like a slime ball, right? Like I never wanted to feel like a salesman. I wanted to always just be the person that is there to help, and then by osmosis you make money, right? Like if you bring value, the money will come, right? Like you just got to be a good person, know your products,
And
right? Like know your products.
it's so
Yeah,
much easier to close somebody with the product that they need than something they don't need.
yeah, 100%. And yeah,
No
and
work. You
sometimes they
need this.
yeah sometimes they go, you know what, Sam, it's not on the table right now, and then all of a sudden I just go, I feel better because I'm just like, okay, no matter what, at the end of the day, the worst thing that they said, they know that they said no. And
Yeah.
so if something happens, you go, damn, Sam did tell me that,
No, oh
and then I
man,
just yeah,
I see it
yeah,
all the time. Like for us, I put in my renos and I typically do my reno budget at like this is what I think it's going to cost you guaranteed. My number doesn't go
yeah,
up. Like 90% of my quotes, my number stays the same. It if
right,
anything it'll go down, but it won't go up because I factored
right,
in all of the problems or all of the potential problems. And if we don't use that problem, then we don't use it. Great. We saved 5 grand, we saved 2 grand, we saved 3 grand. But like
yeah,
I hate going back to the investor, no different than like an investor hates going back to their money partners and say, I need some more money. Right? Like
yeah,
I don't want to ever have that conversation with my investors. Right. So for us, I try to like, I just be like, hey, this is what it is. If these numbers don't work, I'm telling you, you could ask another
yeah,
contractor and yeah, you could make it work. But at some
yeah,
point, you're gonna get to that line and you're gonna say, Taco was right. I needed to factor
yeah.
for this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and that's super important for, I think, people that have gone and invested or gone through life. They realize that, right? They realize that you don't want to go with the guy that disagrees with you on everything and has nothing to add. I mean, that doesn't help. And if the price just seems too good to be true, sometimes it is. And I think as you go through life, you start to realize who's there giving good advice, who knows their stuff, and it's definitely worth ma- that product. Say for you, as if you're doing a renovation, if you're coming out with logical information that actually makes sense,
Hmm.
you know, then they'll trust you, right? Like so, and I think that shines through the way you speak to people and how you carry yourself. If you're really gonna be someone that's giving them advice, it's not a hard day, right? You just honest living, make a good living, just know your product, know your stuff, and then move on with your life, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah, we talked about that at the event when we were talking. It's just like, look, it's so easy. You just got to be a good person, and people are gonna know you.
Yeah,
If you want to last in this industry, if you want to be around for a long time, and everybody to remember your name,
yeah.
that's the only way you're gonna do it, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, we did talk about that, right? Flying straight, right? Like making sure that you fly straight, man. If you want to be in this business for a long period of time, you can't be, just overselling or like not being, truthful in your work. We all see those fly by night guys. Their Instagrams aren't even live anymore,
yep,
right? If you're not honest, and if you're not putting the effort and time into knowing your product, then you're not going to be here tomorrow. I mean, we have to build sustainable businesses, be a sustainable person, right? Like that shines in your life
agreed.
forever, you know. and we're gonna be here in 20 years, Taco. Hopefully, we're really close and grow our businesses together, and and that's really the goal, right?
Yeah. No, 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 for sure, man. Like, you know, like I've look, I've been around the industry for a very long time. I just never networked. And if I did network, I wasn't wearing a taco hat, right? I was just like, I just go in and just do my own thing. And I lived in my own little bubble. And, and then we started all these other companies and, I'm looking to expand, I'm looking to grow, and I want to continue to service, this teeny tiny little piece called real estate investing. And I get people mention me all the time, and they're like, "Hey, I was at this event. People were talking about you, and they were saying that you're the man, or you're the guy to go to, or you have all of the right answers, or you're the expert in the rentals, right?" Like, and that's it. I try to keep my mouth as reno focused as possible. I don't want to talk insurance, right? Where
Yeah,
I've seen other people and let's call them like Instagram celebrities or whatever, and they're telling you everything, right? They're the realtor, they're the mortgage guy, they're the insurance guy, they're the contractor. They give you the advice
yeah,
on everything, and it's impossible. You can't be everything, right? You could dabble in a
yeah,
bunch of things. I dabble in investing, right? I understand real estate investing. By no means am I an expert at real estate investing. I'm making mistakes. I'm having issues no different than everybody else is. But on the reno side of things,
yeah,
that's where I shine. Running numbers, bro. I'm telling you, I'm not the numbers guy. I call Arrow, right? Like I like Arrow. He's got a good Excel sheet, and we talk about numbers together. Even if it's a deal that I'm gonna go for myself, I'll be like, "Hey, Arrow, can you look at this for me?" And he'll look at it because that's his
yeah,
superpower. And and this is why I love this community that we're building here. And it's because we could all share our superpowers, right? Having you here today talking about stuff that we don't really normally talk about, which is insurance. It's a superpower, and maybe we don't need Green Lantern all the time for to save the planet, but sometimes we
yeah,
need them, right? Sometimes we need
yeah,
that superpower, and it's important to know who to
yeah.
call when you need them, right? Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, great way to put it right there.
so Henry's got a good question. Um,
Yeah.
he said he might have missed this, but he said, "What's the rule of thumb for apartment building insurance? Like, how do you factor in what that cost is?" He mentioned, is it like 2% of the value? What is the rule of thumb? And I feel
Yeah.
like there might not be because it's buildings are complicated.
Yeah. Buildings are complicated, and like today, for example, I ran into one that they're using a lot of wood materials.
Hmm.
So it's not fire resistive as much as we'd want it to be. So so depending on the materials used, historic buildings, like, so that's another thing too. Older buildings that are historic buildings. So it's hard to put a rule of thumb into it, really. I think the biggest thing is just having a professional that you can give them a call, and then they can break it down as fast as possible for you and get that information to you as soon as possible. Like, it's super tough to have a rule of thumb because, yeah, each building again is unique. It's built in different ways, different eras, different updates, you know. But I will kind of put it this way: is if you are looking to do a renovation, a major renovation, let's say 250,000 and above, you're gonna have to get a builder's risk. So there's an added cost to what your plans are with the building as well. So the more renovations, the longer the renovations, vacancies. Think about vacancies. So if you're gonna have it vacant and under construction, the cost is gonna be higher, right? So having those conversations is super important. But when you're getting to a property, you know, the types of materials, all that kind of stuff is something that we take note of when we do ask those questions. But it's really hard to put a number on it. To be honest with you, it's there's so many variables.
It's like, "Hey, Taco, what's the average square foot cost for a reno?" Like, buddy,
Yeah,
it's impossible.
it's
It's
tough.
impo- I'm gonna
It's
give you a
tough.
number,
But
and it's gonna be a complete fucking fake guess, and I'm just giving you a number to satisfy because you want a number, but I'm telling you that number is gonna be in my favor, no matter what, right? And
Yes.
and I'm always gonna layer on additional stuff. So it's kind of like I'm like it's kind of pointless. I don't know. Like, are you buying $2 a square foot tile or are you buying $10 a square foot tile? Because that's a huge
Yeah.
change in such a small number, right? Like, but massive.
Yeah, and that's actually like, and that's true to our quotes too, right? Like if you have all carpet as opposed to marble, or like depending on the materials, that quote's going to be a lot different, right? Like you're going to want more, you're going to need more coverage, want more coverage if the materials are higher end, right?
Yep.
And depends on bathrooms and all that kind of stuff. There's so many things and variables to it, so it is tough, but I think the main things are, and typically when you're an investor, you're going in there renovating the cores of the building, the roof, the furnace, the plumbing, all that kind of stuff. You're doing that already. So that, but those are very big factors in the real estate cost for insurance.
No, for sure. Okay, so Arrow's got an interesting question, and I guess maybe
Yeah.
Arrow, if you want to type out a little more because it's a little generic. Did we discuss construction insurance? He's interested to know more about builder's risk policy. Or what about it, builder's risk policy do you want to know, Arrow? That's like that's asking me about pizza. There's lots of pizzas out there, bro. Tacos. There's lots of tacos out there. Do you want chicken tacos? You want beef tacos? You want spicy? You want vegan tacos? You want fish tacos? Bro, what kind of tacos do you want here? Okay? We need to like unravel the layers and get us some of the juicy questions here. Okay, so he's typing. Arrow, pressure's on. Pressure's on. Manny's in the house. He's under Manolo. I think he lost his other.
Manny,
Yeah, Manny's Manolo.
Manny's the man.
Manny's something. He's a party in a box. He's a fun time. Love that guy. Most energetic person. I don't know how he keeps going. Okay, so he's I guess so. Arrow's asking, what are some basic things to consider when you're purchasing a vacant building and constructing new units?
Yeah. So one of the things that we look at is how long it's going to be vacant for. So the timeline. Um, and it is going to cost more in insurance for that time that it is vacant. So you're looking at a higher cost of insurance. They're going to ask questions like, what are you going to be renovating? Um, like how much we might want a breakdown of the quote.
Hmm.
And so things that you want to look out for is how long it's going to be vacant for. We don't want properties sitting vacant without construction. That's another thing too. Is a lot of companies aren't going to be able to offer you coverage, so we're going to have to go either to a higher third rated type of insurance company that will give you that coverage, and it's going to be very very minimal coverage that's going to be available as well. So you're not going to get coverage for the like for vandalism. You're not going to get theft coverage. You're just going to pretty much have fire coverage, and very very limited, just so that you can close the mortgage, really, right? So when you're looking at a vacant property, you want to know the timeline. You want to have quotes because we're going to ask you that anyways. We're
Hmm.
going to want to know the timeline, quotes, how much cover, like, permits, do you need permits, all that kind of stuff. So when you're getting to put an offer on a property, you want to, talk to Henry, because these guys have the ability to kind of break down, and make sure that you're doing it in a timely fashion. Again, vacancy, I know that there is a hurry to make sure you get that tenanted as fast as possible because it's costing you money. But 100% know that you should get the process going with the insurance as fast as possible so you can get it in time for closing, because vacant properties are hard to insure.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So yeah, and to kind of round that up as well, because typically if you have it, you're putting a renovation, $250,000 renovation, let's say, you're going to want a builder's risk, and you're going to need a builder's risk to cover that. Um, When you're doing a builder's risk, you probably want to look at wrap up insurance as well. So when you have a bunch of different trades people working on a property, you want to wrap up coverage so it makes sure that it covers everybody's work. So if anything happens that you get sued, um, that you have wrap up coverage. So because a lot of people are working on that, general contractors are sometimes working on one building at the same time.
They're
So
bastards.
wrap up coverage is fantastic. Understanding your deductibles, so all a deductible is, if just to kind of throw it out there, a deductible is you pay whatever amount of deductible you have on your policy. So let's say, and you typically, when you're looking at multi-res or commercial, the higher the deductible is going to be, your properties. But let's say it's a $10,000 deductible, $10,000 deductible. So if you have a $10,000 deductible and you have a $50,000 claim, you cover the first $10,000 and we pay the rest.
Okay.
So that's what a deductible is. And again, as you're dealing with multi-res, a home policy, your personal home might have $1,000 deductible, let's say. But when you start getting to multifamily commercial properties, we're looking at high deductible. So understanding your deductible is super important, because that might come in play when you're possibly filing a claim.
Okay, so a follow-up question he has is, do you work with providers that do builders risk policy? Because he said he was reaching out to a lot of brokers and they didn't have those options.
Yeah, I do. I probably do one a day at least. So we're extremely busy with that. I mean, that's kind of where we're specializing in that more. We understand the risk, we understand how it works. So if you are working on a builder's risk, by all means, I'd love to connect and grow the network. Yeah, just reach out to me at any time.
Okay, and then we have Manny's got a question regarding insurance for duplex. Um, what does that look like? And then he also has a follow-up question is, do you insure for Airbnb?
Yeah. So first question, duplexes, does that look like? Like premium wise, again, it's very hard. Every area is different too, guys. Like, this is another especially big point as to getting a quote before you put in a hard offer. You might run into an area where they don't, like, the quotes are extremely expensive. We're seeing that in Northern Ontario. We're seeing that in BC with fires. So certain fire zones. So like before, we would just like insure everyone the same. Like back in the day when I first got started, kind
Mm-hmm.
of aging myself here. And then we started breaking down by postal code, and then we started breaking down. We now break down by like literal your roof of your house. Like we like zip it down to like your actual physical house. It's not even your postal code anymore. It's not your neighbor. It's like directly to your house. So
Oh, wow.
we'll know how far away you are from water, how close you are from a fire hydrant. Like we know a lot of information now. So making sure that you use your resources, right, before you start putting like a full, like, a hard offer that you can't back out of. It'd be probably a good idea to just to check out if it's not in a hugely rated water zone. You don't want to run into issues of comprehensive water sewer backups 3 4 times, and then all of a sudden you can't get insurance, and then you got to sell the damn property, take a loss, and then it becomes there's some nightmares. So, so the duplex is really tough area to kind of break down. But I think a typical home in a typical area, you're probably 20 24 to $3,000, I'd say, depending on the coverage as well. That's another factor as well, and deductibles and all that. But yeah, let's say it's, 2,400 to 3,000.
Okay, and then where do we go here? So insurance, Airbnbs.
Sometimes less too, guys. It's really tough to answer that question.
Okay, Instagram account. Okay, so Sammy, you gotta work on your Discord profile so that all of your socials are on your Discord
Yes,
profile. But it's
yes,
Sammy Tio, right? Is your
yes.
Instagram? Okay,
SAMMYTILLO.
I
Sammy
got it.
Kilo. I'm the
Manny,
guy that doesn't know how to use Discord or any other uh, technology.
because you're old. It's because you're old, man. It's because you're old. We get it. We get it. From from an old man, I get it. Don't worry, it's okay. Um,
What was your second question? Sorry, before I forget
oh,
to answer that one. Did
Manny
I
was
answer?
do you insure for Airbnbs? Sorry.
Yes, yes. So we do. We do insure for Airbnbs. We want to stay under 180 days of rented out. If not, we got to look at a commercial policy for room and boarding. But so pretty much yes, no matter what. If it's more than 180 days, we just insure it under a commercial policy. If it's less than 180 days, we could do it under a home policy.
Oh, that's pretty
So
interesting.
and that market's changing crazy too. Like you're getting short term, long term, mid term rentals as well. So yeah, so definitely we do that and would love to help out, Manny.
And how do you guys handle, and I don't know if it matters or not, illegal suites?
We don't get into that. We don't get into that. We ask what's in the property. We don't get into that. I mean, it could be down the road. I'm not sure, but
Like, what about like
we
non-conforming, right? Like grandfathered in stuff with that?
yeah, we don't. Again, we don't get into that. Like I mean, that's up to the city to enforce those, not to like I'm not trained in
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
so
That's
I'm never going to know the difference really. And I think I'm not going to know the difference. We just ask what like how many bathrooms, how many what's the square
yeah,
feet,
yeah, yeah.
well, how many units.
You're you're you're
It's
just looking at the
really
risk,
tough.
right? You're just looking at it from a
Yeah,
risk perspective.
yeah, I mean, if I go into a property and I notice that there's 15 units or 30 people living in one house, we might get off risk. I might not want that.
Yeah,
I'm very, we want to take on a good risk and make sure that there's a moral hazard there with what's going on with Canada with our housing. So we want to make sure that we're taking on good risks and we don't want slumlords. You know what I mean? Like I don't
yeah.
want clients that are slumlords. I want clients that just like me want to, make a good living, do the right thing, protect your properties, and protect your tenants as well.
Okay, so we got a couple more questions. Okay, so Manny's quickly asking, what's cheaper, Airbnb or duplex, from an insurance perspective? Does it even matter? Because imagine like it'd be a duplex that you'd Airbnb both units, or like you have a long-term tenant duplex.
Usually, when you got tenants, it's usually better, right? Like you have that added risk of when you have many people coming in and out. So there
Right,
is that added risk, but it's not much. It's not going to make the financial decision. It's not going to be a decision maker between the two. You
right.
know, if you feel comfortable with Airbnb, the change in insurance is not going to
Minimal.
deter you from making that decision.
Okay. Henry's got another good question. This is a great topic actually. Garden suites. How
Yeah,
does that work? What is that? That's a new product. It's not really mainstream.
yeah, yeah. So garden suites, we're actually right now. This is a huge new business, really. Like we're like smaller houses. Like forget the name that one of my staff members is working on a community actually. So there's like 100 small houses being built. And so we're running into that more and more. So yeah, so that's something that we can insure for sure, definitely. And we're gonna see that more and more. We have a need for housing, guys. So we're gonna have to get creative. Like I said, and Henry, I love how I think you sent me the one that you were seeing in Chatham or out this way, and how beautiful like it's a beautiful setup. We're gonna see that more and more. So definitely we can insure those.
All right, awesome. And Cindy was asking, especially since you mentioned like the 31 people, how does student rentals
Yeah.
kind of hold up?
Yeah. We insure student rentals. I insure them. Like London is a big town for that.
Oh yeah.
So I have plenty of student rentals. So we don't have a problem with it. I think you definitely need to add. You know that the premium is going to be higher. You're dealing with students. But the return on investment on a student house is pretty good, right? Like we all know that you get the mom and dad to sign off and all that. So So yeah, do I do it? Yes, I do, and I do it often as well.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And um, is there? Okay, so another. This is another good question. Is there a limit of housing that you can insure, like a person? Kind of like mortgages, right? Like at a certain point, I will run out of mortgage.
Yeah. So we do six houses, so up to 6 units. Um, in under a home policy, up to
Yeah.
six under one house, and then 12 units under this. Like, so say if I have 12 units.
Hmm.
Now you're looking for your 13th unit. We're looking at pushing you towards a commercial
Yeah.
policy. So there's no limit. I have clients that has 200 houses, right?
Yeah. Of
So
course.
it just goes under a different type of plan, and your needs are going to be different at that point. You're going to want um, ease of managing your policies at that point. So we make it a lot easier. So we put it under a commercial policy, and it makes your life easier, makes our life easier. But we also make sure that we're continuously doing client reviews with you, right? So as your portfolio grows, your needs are going to grow. You're going to need a little bit more attention, and just making sure we're staying on top of it. Like it's super important as you grow that you're making it easier to manage, and we have systems in place to manage your properties and your insurance. I try to make sure that I help you make it as easy as possible with that.
Okay. So here's a question. I think I'm gonna start asking this to everybody, but like, okay, so two things. What is the biggest mistake in your industry that you would tell people to avoid now knowing what you know? And then I'll get into the second one.
Yeah. First one is be honest. Like be honest with what you're doing. Um, don't just like life. Don't avoid the hard things. Right. Do things right the first time. And if you plan on being here for a long time and plan on growing your business, either if it's insurance, if it's renovations, if it's investment in properties, don't do things the wrong way. Do it the right way, right? Like if it's an insurance, if I have 4 units, I've added two. Make sure you tell the guy, tell your insurance guy. Like, if it's vacant, tell your insurance guy. Just make sure that you're doing things and not and crossing your T's, dotting your I's as best as possible because it will catch up, right? You just don't want to leave too many things forgotten about. Um, and I think we try to avoid that in life, right? Like you start to forget to exercise, you forget to eat well, you take care of yourself, sleep good. It catches up to you, right? So things to avoid is just making sure that you're organized with your paperwork. You're talking and communicating with your insurance providers, because yeah, you might save a little bit of premium, but if you're going to continue doing this for a long period of time, it's going to backfire on you. It's just going to happen, right? You're going to have something happen. At the end of the day, when I talk about investment properties, the cost goes back. It should go back anyways. It's an investment, right? Like you shouldn't worry about a $30-$40 cost. Make sure you're insured correctly, and then you can have a solid book a book a business, or a real estate book where that you're doing things the right way and it's solid, and you don't have to worry about it. You can sleep well.
Yeah, no, no, that's great advice, man. It's true. I mean, I think like that in general and everything in life and stuff like that. Just be honest, right? Because then things will bite you. Eventually, they catch up.
Eventually they catch up, and especially if the game is to continue to add properties to your portfolio, and you start doing things wrong at house two, house three, it might be 5 years, but then you're going to have a total loss. You're not going to have the right coverage. And then it might take your whole portfolio down, right? So, it's better to grow slow and do it right than to grow fast and lose it all.
Oh, don't we know? Just check out the news articles. It's out there.
Just a lot of reminders right now, for sure. There's no shortage.
Um, okay, and then what advice would you give to your younger self for investing? Now that you know, now that you're where you are today.
Yeah, that's a great question. I wasn't expecting that.
It's
Wow. You
a
know what?
non-insurance
I'm
question.
30. Yeah, yeah. I'm 35 years old now, so I think is invest in your craft, right? Invest in people and be around people that are um, trying to live a good life and are committed to bettering themselves, right? If you're hanging around five idiots, you're going to be the sixth one, right? So be mindful of who you let in your life in all aspects, in business and in life, and just continue to better your life and focus on improvement, self improvement, and that's I think pretty good advice.
Oh yeah, that's really good. It's one of the things I speak to a lot all the time. I'm like, just keep going up the staircase and eventually you'll look down and you'll see how far you've come and just worry about the next step. Don't worry about the top, right? Don't worry about the top. Just keep going up the steps and you'll be good. And then yeah, avoid distraction. It's so easy to get caught up in distraction and adding, the wrong people to your circle.
Yeah, and be patient, right? Like we want when we're young, we want everything to happen so quickly. And just know that you will get there. Just be patient. Just be patient, and don't grow up too quick.
Man, I appreciate having you on, dude. Honestly, like we had a good conversation, and I don't think I've had an insurance conversation like at this depth and this level at all in a very long time, if at all. I think maybe the last time was with my buddy. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's incredible advice. I think like we'll share it to obviously the community and stuff like that. We're gonna keep growing together and building out some cool stuff. I think yeah, we're just this is the community that we're building, and I think it's gonna become the game changer because you can do this. Like once we start spreading out and going to different cities and talking to more people, like somebody from Windsor could have been on this call, somebody from Detroit, like all over the world, and you could really gain some valuable insight, and it'll be incredibly helpful.
yeah, absolutely. And I had a great time. And again, if you guys ever have any questions about this type of stuff, and you know where to find me, as at Sammy Tilo on Instagram. But I just got Discord today for this, and I'm gonna make sure I update all my information. But I really had a great time. Great questions. Didn't expect that last one, but I'm glad I did. I did get that one, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Taco, I'm really happy I met you.
Yeah, no, likewise, man. I just like meeting good people and like just bringing, continuing to grow this little collection of good people that I think are gonna, be real successful powerhouses and people that are gonna be here for a while, right? Like there's too many fly-by-nighters and that's not like the crowd I want to attract. Um, I
Yeah,
want to deal with good people that are out there to help people, right? Like value add people. We're all here to make a living, right? Like, I need contractor sales, I need supply sales because that's how I eat. Investors need profit because that's how they eat, right? Insurance
yeah,
brokers need to insure people, that's how they eat, and agents need to
yeah,
sell deals because that's how they eat. We all got to eat. But
yeah,
there's eating well and then there's eating like shit, right? So I'm a
yeah,
eat good kind of person in when it comes to
yeah.
business, not in general. But yeah, no, it's a cool community I think we're building, and I think we're gonna continue to
Yeah,
grow and really
yeah,
change the game. And I just added on the chat there, and I'll link it to you too. There's like a spot where you can introduce yourself, and you can kind of like do a little write up for yourself, and kind of highlight
yeah.
who you are and what you do in the community, so that people can reach out and connect with you.
Fantastic. Really had a great time.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having you on, and I'm sure we're gonna run into each other a little more than you think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have a great night, guys.
You too. Take care, guys. Thanks for showing up.
Take care. Thank you.